Welcome to I Pod a Spell on You, Edy Hurst's Wonderfull Discoverie of Witches podcast. This is the show where I, comedian Edy Hurst, invite guests on from all across the arts to help solve their problems using the very best in magic, spells, and guesses from pre-1700s literature. And sorry I'm whispering, I was walking downstairs and I didn't want to wake up my wife and daughter as I came down. Sleep, eh? What's that all about? As I've invited guests onto this podcast, nearly everyone has at least had a thought about asking for something to help them with sleep. I wonder if we live in this period of time, a bad sleep period across the globe. You know, we've never had better access to information, to finding out what's going on and learn really all about the terrors of the world, all about us, all the time, everywhere. Entertainment, amusement, and a work culture that really makes sure you don't just take work home with you anymore, but now a lot of people find themselves in that weird negotiation in many jobs where you're arguing with your employer that actually you'd rather be working at home than to have to go into an office anymore. Now, I don't think I struggle with sleep at all. I don't think it's ever been an issue for me. Periodically, sometimes it's hard to get off to sleep. But, normally I'm on the reg getting a good 8 hours. Except when I've got a lot on or I don't have enough on. And for some reason, like every maybe 4 to 6 months, I just have to stay up all night. I just can't sleep. I cannot physically sleep. I don't know why it happens. I don't know if it's actually 6 months or if it's less or more periodic than that. I just kind of have to hammer through all night or until I literally fall asleep. But I'm pretty sure everybody does that, right? So I think it's going to be pretty difficult for me to be able to relate to my guest Alice Christina-Corrigan with this. Alice is a visually impaired theatremaker and actor and writer. She also has ADHD, which we immediately spoke about the first time I met her because she is also on the Lowry Developed With cohort, which is how we met. She recently this year just finished a national tour of her one-woman show that she wrote and performed called Past Life, and is currently developing a new show called Fade with a full cast and crew, as well as travelling the world advocating for greater accessibility within arts. She's also acted in productions at the Everyman Theatre, the Barbican Centre, and is currently filming a TV show in Canada that I think that is the most we're allowed to say about it. What we do talk about is accessibility in theatre. We talk about burnout, working too hard, that feeling that you always need to be busy and the privilege of getting to be busy, coupled with the fact that because of that you feel like you can't rest. And it might turn out that Alice is a little more magic than she lets on at the beginning, just to tease a little bit of detail coming up. So, will my spell work and will she finally be cured of poor sleep habits, or will it go the other way? Will it actually make things worse? I mean, I hope not. This is the second spell I'm having a go at, and maybe I'm high off the success of the first one I tried with Jen, keeping the doom scrolling at bay. But, there's only one way to find out. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy this episode. Please do like, rate, subscribe, and share the podcast on social media. You can follow me at EDYHURST. And if you have any problems, big or small, that you think you'd like to see whether pre-1700s magic can help with, why not send me a message? It'd be very cool. I think maybe in the episodes we could get a regular thing where people are requesting a spell. There might be some that crop up a lot that I could give a mass spell for. I don't know. Do spells work through podcasts? There's only one way for us to find out. And as a gift to you now, as we go through this episode, like I said, I don't really struggle with sleep except for the periodic single night of insomnia that I have every now and then, which, would you believe the dramatic irony of it, is where we are tonight. So I'm going to be sharing with you, but also kind of for me, some of my top things that I try to do to go to sleep when I find myself in one of these long, dark nights of the soul. Okay, let's go. I never know. Because I feel like there's such like a formal way of being like, "Hello, welcome to the show," and I don't really want to do that because I quite like it to be more informal. Yeah, every time I press record, it's always like, "Hey, welcome to the show." So, hi, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Do you want to introduce yourself for everybody listening?
Yes, hello. My name is Alice. I'm a visually-impaired actor theatremaker who does a lot of work about how we can creatively integrate access into theatre and everywhere.
We know each other kind of from the Lowry Developed With scheme, I guess. That's where we first met. I think the first time we spoke to you before was like, you got ADHD? Yeah, I got it. How are you finding it? Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
One of us.
What do you want? What do you want?
Bonded in the hallway. You have it too?
I was like, oh, no. Yes, I do. I do struggle with lots of things. Yes, excellent.
Good.
You're a very busy person.
Very busy. It was making me laugh that I felt like I hadn't talked to you. Edy, you were just a distant. I had my access support worker.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I just disappeared on Edy.
No, it's all good. I knew that you'd also like when we started talking about arranging an interview, you had said ahead of time, like, FYI, I might be in another country and it might be very, very short notice.
Communication, life of a freelancer, right? Yeah. But so it's like, hey, I can't decide these things. So this is, the most I can do is be transparent, which I think is, everyone's been quite nice. Maybe because we're all arty-farty people who never know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So everyone's been pretty flexible.
Hey, I don't know what I'm doing either. Oh, me too. Oh, great. So what are you up to in Canada?
I'm working on a TV show.
Whoa. Are you allowed to say anything about it?
No.
You're an actor now on television and you write plays, you write all sorts of stuff and you perform in those plays also. Did you always know that you were going to go into writing and producing your own work as well?
No. But I think that's how I did a BA. So my undergrad was just drama. Okay. And a lot of that was like making your own work and working as like a stage manager, lighting techie, like doing a lot of not just acting. And I think that was really important because I think that it was always in me. Like I came from like quite a devising collaborative background. Then I did my MA and trained as an actor. And I think through that, because I'd always been like mildly intrigued. You know how we're like, oh, like we said earlier, it's a good idea. We'll put that on the shelf of ideas. Like it's like, oh, writing, good idea. Like, but when do we have the like time to sit and write? And also, I didn't realize I was a procrastinator until I have to write a play, and I'm like, I couldn't think of anything worse than sitting down and like taking it out of my head. And I don't know if it's ever going to translate out of my brain onto the paper. Yeah. But when I did my MA, I actually had the space and time, and I had to. There was a deadline, and I had to start writing. And it opened up a whole different world for me. So no, I don't think I ever thought I would have like ended up here, not in a I'm not good enough imposter syndrome way, but in a I just kept putting it off and didn't know actually if I'd be any good at it, like, because acting was always my thing. But I've always said I want to work in the arts. I didn't really like mind what way. And maybe the part of that was just fear, because like acting is crazy. But you act about 5% of the time. And for me, I love the arts for better or worse. So I was like, I want to work in this field no matter what. And that's been really nice to kind of actually go, okay, what other area do I want to work in?
It sounds like a really organic way to go about it. I guess that leads us maybe naturally onto building access into theatre performance. Because I feel like the way that people talk about, like, the shows that you do are great and the work that you're doing to build access in is amazing. But I find it really weird that the conversation is like that you're building access in, not that it's like they're lessons forever. Do you know what I mean? Does that make in a sort of, it's like, oh, it's good that you're building it, but it's like, when does that, isn't that just you're building a new standard, hopefully? Like that there is a new conversation being built that other people will take away and build as a regular thing? And does that get frustrating?
Yeah, but I think that's exactly why I like make it. Like I found my place like in where I was useful and like was really passionate about, and like my voice within the art sector was how can I raise the profile of access in theatre. And I agree. I think sometimes people could be like, well, at least like there's some people doing it, so like that's great, I don't have to. And actually it's, I think, a massive the way in which my work is progressing up the ladder of like, I guess, being more and more commercial as it goes. Like it's not right now, but it's to show that there isn't ultimately a reason why it can't just be really simple structures put in place to make work accessible. Shouldn't really come down to like emerging artists making fringe-esque work to have captions, when actually like that's great, but like we're burning ourselves out to prove a point. So I think, like, especially with Fade, like my new play, it's really like upscaling that so that it makes a bigger conversation happen. I think that's the only way really, until like we're all running the buildings and can change everything, that we're going to be able to make people not have that mentality, because I agree. I think sometimes that can kind of be the case. Yeah. You can either be really negative about it or like try and make a change. And I think I'm like trying to make a change, sort of like letting that really sit, the weight of that sit on my shoulders, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think actually that weight, that's a really, I think that's a really, personally for me, that's a really helpful thing to hear. At the moment, I'm finding myself getting really burnt out, having to explain the same things to people over and over again. For the past 12 months has been that I've had confirmation that there is some access things that I need. And it's just like having to explain that to people over and over again. For yourself, how have you found that, not just with like neurodivergent things, but also with visual impairment? What are the differences like?
It's really interesting. I think similar to you, how we bonded again, the ADHD gang found each other. The diagnosis was really, really early on, like new. For like, oh, actually, no, there is things I do need, and I've got validated because I now know that is a thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it for me was getting that peace of mind in terms of that, and like trying out medication and seeing how that can help me. Whereas the impairment is a sensory issue that I was born with, that has come with a lot more unpacking as I've grown up, understanding what that means. It's like the disabled identity within me. It's like daily struggles, like the light sensitivity and those kind of aspects, which I think is far more easier in that regard to work out what that one is, more so than it is the neurodiverse side of things. One, because it's new, and two, because especially being a woman with that and having a late diagnosis, I'm playing kind of catch up with to compare it back to the vision impairment. I was born with that. I've never known different.
Right.
I'm like, sure, yeah. Was I born with this? I don't know. What was I doing as a teenager? Like, has it progressed as I got older? Like, what is that? And what is just like me? But I feel like day to day, that one probably, I feel like that ADHD sits more interpersonal with him. That was a big word. I don't know if it's the right word.
No, it's a good word.
I know what that is day to day. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm burning out, or I'm hyper focusing on this, or I need to eat, but I'm working, and that's far more like I have to establish what my access is within that. Whereas I can't see, so like, can you read this for me? Can you like help me there? Can this script be on this font? It's far more exterior, and I think that's probably actually a good way to. That I've only just realised now. That's the difference between the two.
That interpersonal thing I think is huge as well. Like, especially for, I think if you're not like at school, like, I don't know, I don't want to like, it might be very different now, but at least when I was at school, like I got a dyslexia diagnosis, and that was kind of like, oh, well, there's something, that's it. Whereas like the ADHD was so much more about social things. It's only when I was older and like reading about it, like, oh, that's why that happens. Balls.
That's so true though, and I do feel that I feel like because I was visually impaired, like that's her, and it's like you can have more than one thing. Like it doesn't work like that. Then you're unpacking it when you're older, because you're like, it was reading things about it. It wasn't until people pointed that out that I was like, oh, because in education, it was so much more focused just on the impairment. Rightly so, that I get why, but also like, I do wonder if we look back on our childhood or like just being in school, maybe what that would look like now, if it would be any different, hopefully. I think that social side of things is really true. I kind of echo that as well.
Yeah, I don't know. What a weird place. A lot of people, they like having a cup of tea or hot milk or some hot malt drink. I don't really know what the malt drink is, but people like it, and who might. I've not done that before, but I thought for the podcast I'd give it a go. So it's boiling now, but you might be wondering why there's not the sound as we hear this click of water hitting the cup in that sort of pleasing sound that you get, and why instead it sounds actually like why it sounds like there's lots of water moving about. And the truth is that as I turned the kettle on, I realised that I need to do the washing up, as my favourite mug that I was going to pour the water into was dirty. And, you know, both you and I deserve the very best for this good old go at trying to get to sleep. There's a few things that need to get sorted out in here, so I thought I'd do them all. It's a job to get out of the way, isn't it? Because I'm not asleep yet, not tired yet. So put the kettle on again. And you might have noticed now that the click sounds again. I'm also not pouring water into a cup, and that's because I realised that I could put some clothes on to wash overnight, so that they'd be ready to go out dry in the morning, because I'm in job mode, so I may as well get some of that done. But to do that, I had to hang out the drum full of the washing machine so that it is empty to refill. I do love that they call washing machines drums. You know, like the spinner in a drum? The spinner in a washing machine is called a drum. I mean, it's round, it's a cylinder. It doesn't really look like I think a cylinder does a better job of describing what it is. Has anyone ever played a washing machine drum? I'm going to have a little look. It feels like something Slipknot would have done, you know? It feels like a real Slipknot thing. They loved doing random metal clangs, didn't they? The first thing that comes up is using a washing machine as a fire pit. Okay, so on YouTube there's a video of a child using it. Right next to the other suggested video of a tutorial of how to use a washing machine as a fire pit. People are absolutely crazy for that. Why are there so many people who are keen on using a washing machine drum as a fire pit? That doesn't seem like the most effective recycling thing to do, right? I don't know. It's better than nothing, I guess. I mean, it's just this video of a kid hitting like a stand. You know, like in America they have the vertical. If you're in America, you know. If for those of you who are American, or I don't know, maybe other countries too, like the sort of vertical standing washing machine where you put everything in, like on the if it's a box, you're standing up by it, it's on the top. Whereas like I think European ones maybe, or at least UK ones, it's on the front, so you have to kind of crouch down as you fill it in. This kid's amazing. This video has like 4.5 million views. How have I missed this out? Who's the guy who did it? Dan Carollo. Do you think that's him? No, sorry. I need to hang the washing out. I need to finish up the washing in the sink. Then I'll get myself a drink. Let's talk about your shows, if that's okay. So I've seen Past Life. Past Life was great. Set design, excellent. Show, excellent. I found it really interesting. Something I wanted to ask with it, I guess it's like, well, I guess in terms of that to fade is like Past Life, am I right, is semi-autobiographical?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like that no one really knows. No, it's really interesting when people assume, but that's a one-person show thing.
Right? Yeah, I think so.
But I think the bigger point of it, like that, there's elements of womanhood within that. There's bits I can relate to, but it isn't Alice's story at any point, if that makes sense.
Yes.
That's why the R&D was so important. It was like, actually, what are these common experiences? And the rest of it's up for interpretation. So I kind of enjoy that people assume, but also not so much semi-autobiographical. I can understand that one, but being autobiographical. But yeah, no, it was like fresh. It's a story, yeah.
Yeah, because as you were saying, you look through what you relate to with that character. One of the things with it is that it does feel, it feels very open and it feels very personal in that way, that I think that's why people will think that. How as a performer is that going through what for that person is clearly a traumatic event? but is like not yours.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The work I create is obviously selfishly about issues and causes I care about. So like the normalization of sexual assault in relationships. I really like my brother. Where I like he's like my best mate. I wanted to do a show about the show is not about me and him at all. It's a heavy play, Fade, but it's about what that relationship can look like in a bad situation. Realistically, I'm intrigued by that. I wanted to raise awareness of this, both of them, so they come from that aspect. There's things I can relate to in both, but I think they spread a bigger message. So I think when in both R&Ds for both shows.
Greetings, it is me, the explaining Goblin! Some of you might have been expecting the Explaining Lad if there are any fans of Edy Hurst's other War of the Worlds podcast here. Hello? Anybody? Anyway, I'm here to explain what R&D means. So it's been mentioned a few times, and just in case you don't know, it means research and development. Yes, research and development, in the same way like when a car makes something new before they put it on market, or a fast food company tries a novelty item. But with a play, and with theatre productions, and with music, and anything that requires a lot of people, generally beforehand. So that's it. So I gotta go. Ooh, I wonder what it's gonna be like being a goblin rather than a lad. That'll be exciting. Anyway, see you later. Bye.
Particularly in past life, we were never in an emotional or potentially triggering place for too long.
Right.
So it was like carefully constructed and really snappy with its like a lot of the rehearsals were spent with certain parts of the stage were for certain moments. So there's just a lot of unpacking that within the rehearsal room. And also we had to be really mindful that it wasn't just the actor, it was also the audience. So I think we're really careful with actually how, I think there's only one moment where we go into detail and then that's it. Because actually that story and the message was so much more about her and the journey around it. So it felt quite safe, which was good. I think with Fade, it's actually a bit more difficult. Right. Because the show is about the shared understanding, the shared relationship we can all relate to in some realm with our siblings. It's about that this like relationship we may have had our whole lives that we take for granted, don't do enough with, so many things that actually is harder to unpick what will affect who. And in the R&D, we all could relate to different parts of it. So that's the new challenge. But I think, it's crazy being the actor and in it. But with Fade, I'm casting. Yeah. And I get to...
do you prefer that?
I love acting. I love it. But I think with me and my work, I write plays to tell a story. I don't write plays to put me in. If I'm the right person, I'm the right person. If I'm not, I'm not. My passion is more about that work being able to exist without me or be in it. So it's very different. This will be the first time, like big production, and it's gone from a 1-person to a 4-person cast. But I think it feels right for this. And who knows, maybe I won't say that next time. I don't know. But I want to be able to tell the stories and spread these messages and make this work and create opportunities for more disabled Northern artists to then like have these moments whilst being able to act in different things in different worlds. So just making my life harder by juggling hey as well.
What have you thought? It's like that. I feel like so much of probably both of our lives is like that little Clippy from Windows XP going, have you thought about making things more complicated? Yeah, sure, that's a great idea.
Fine, just keep out of the mud. Keep going.
Thank you for coming on to the show. And of course, now that I am a magic person, I'm a person of the magic, I have the magic in my bones, I can provide services to people. And you've requested from me a spell. What was the spell that you've requested?
Anything to do with sleep. I don't know about you, Eddie, but I procrastinate sleeping. Like I will be exhausted and then I'm just like, I will just not do it. I'll go and do everything else. So I was like, let's have a spell to help me sleep.
A spell for sleeping and a spell for dreams. A spell to try to keep back the
screams.
The crashing voices that break the serene.
hey, don't you have some washing that you need to put out to make sure it's dry for tomorrow? And what happens when we die? What did that guy mean earlier today when he said that doing the washing thing? It's all you can bleach the sink. That's the humans. I don't know what you can do. I reckon just teach probably potatoes. You can schedule emails now. It's more nice now, but maybe just send sweet veggies. Maybe checks out. I think that's So is it the getting to the point that you're lying down in bed that is the tricky bit?
Yes. You know, like if you've had a really, really hectic day, your brain's just in a million different places.
Yeah.
And then when you have the time when you're in bed, you're like, well, now it's my time. I'm going to revolt against sleep and just stay awake because now no one needs me. So aimlessly scroll on TikTok and like not actually get into bed. Or it's the opposite. And my brain will do the opposite and not switch off, and then I'll be awake until like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I never used to have this as well. So when you asked for the spell, I was like, this is great timing.
Oh, so this is new?
Yes. Because I'm working in 2 different countries at the minute with 2 stupidly different time frames.
Yes. What are those countries?
It's not stupid, it's just how it is. The UK and Canada, which is very exciting. Canada's great, but they're 7 hours behind. It's a train from Manchester to London. It's bad enough doing that regularly. A plane? It's very long. So I just feel like there's been a dusting of jet lag that's just followed me for the last couple of months. Yeah. So sleep, when I have a normal sleep, I'm like, wow, this is rare now.
Yeah. That like when you wake up in the morning and it's like, did I sleep? Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh.
That's so weird. Oh my God. It's like not having any adverts on a YouTube video. Like, what?
Yeah.
All the way through. Didn't have to get up and think about death again. Whoa. This is great.
The ad. I went right in.
Yeah. So what do you do? Have you started doing anything to help with sleep? Like on your own?
Yes.
Walk me through it.
Well, I was just taking sleeping tablets. I'm not going to lie. And I was like, this is a bad habit to get into.
Yeah,
I was not spells, Eddie. I'm not that magic. I fully just was like, give me the legal drugs that can help me sleep. You could do the really like adult thing and like put your phone in the other room and do some yoga before you go to bed. I'm all for that.
Yeah. I love the idea of it. I think that's a great idea. That's such a great. Let's put that on the shelf of all the other great ideas that I get given in my life.
Yeah, I can just stay over there.
Yeah.
Great.
So you've never done magic before then?
No, I mean, I'm really into like spirituality and a bit of tarot. Ooh, okay. Like I love that kind of thing. I wouldn't say there's magic, but I'd say it's like a distant cousin of magic.
Okay. So when do you think it, there is no wrong answer, but when do you think it goes over into magic?
Actually, that's a really interesting thing. Because if you manifest and you're into manifestation, is that not in some realm casting a spell? Maybe. So I feel like the line could be potentially blurred. I think it goes into magic more so when you are doing like the spells or some elements of manifestation. That's when I'm like, if you're like writing things and putting underneath your pillow or like doing those sort of things is a bit more of a step than like speaking things into existence or like being into crystals. I feel like that's where it can transition. Yeah.
Okay. I find it really interesting having guests on and seeing where the line for magic is, because that manifestation is a really interesting point. And like the previous guests have said that like manifestation for them is part of doing a magic ritual and part of the spell. So yeah, it's like that. How hardcore does it get for different people, I guess? Okay.
Yeah.
So just before I dive into the actual spell that I've got for you then, Alice, so you know about astrology, so that's great. Don't have to worry about that so much. Yep. But what day were you born on?
1st of May.
1st of May. May Day. Whoa.
May Day.
Bank holiday.
I know.
That's great.
It's great. The best day of the year, if you ask me. 1st of May, what a good birthday. Like, bank holiday every year. You're welcome, everyone.
So I have a book. One of the many books that I'm using to give me an insight into the magic is Witchcraft Detected and Prevented. It was actually published in the 1820s, but obviously a lot of it is from before then. It's not so much the summoning demons type of magic. This is more like magic knocking around your house is how I'd describe it. And there's like a great bit of advice from Aristotle, the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Yeah. And he a lot of people talk about how, he talks about the way that an object is only the identity of the object when it's used for its purpose. You know, it's like an axe handle is only as good when it's being an axe handle, that sort of thing. But he also suggested that if a man has piles, they can stand on the skin of a lion and that'll fix them. So,
Okay.
you know, different horses for different courses, I guess, is the takeaway with Aristotle. So that's the vibe. That's what I've got. So here I've got a little guide for evil or perilous days in every month of the year.
Okay.
So these are the ones to watch out for because they're important. They could be good or bad. They're just like, you know, there's something going about here. And you'll be delighted to hear that you've just dodged it by 2 days. It's May the 3rd. May the 3rd, the 7th, the 15th, and the 20th, which feels like bingo. But there you go.
Right. Good.
So, are you ready for your spell?
I am.
Okay, here we go. Now, I got some good news and I got some bad news. The bad news is that I couldn't find a particular sleeping spell. Because, would you believe it, people in the 1600s did not apparently worry about sleeping as much as we did.
I would have thought it, eh?
Well, actually, you know, I was kind of surprised because I did think that somebody, well, because, you know, like people staying, like the idea of like, especially with like neurodiversity and like sort of the idea of a lot of this stuff being proto-medicine and being like curing things, you would have thought like, and lunatics and like people with mental health problems was like one of the things about it was going out at night and that being a problem apparently. So you would have thought they'd have put something into it. But would you believe it? Mental health care was just as sparse then as it is now.
Right.
What a twist of the tale.
Nothing has changed.
But what I did find, this is a pretty old spell, and it's called. You might have seen one of these before. Have you ever seen a Sator square before, or a Sator square?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So this is it. This is what we're going to have a look at. So I mean, obviously this isn't very helpful for people at home who are listening. You don't have to be at home listening. That's up to you. Anyway, so it is a sort of square. It's quite a famous palindrome where it has 5 words written all in a line together. So it's Sator, Arepo, Tenet, Opera, Rotas. If that is not how you pronounce it, everyone has different interpretations, guys. And actually, I think that's okay. So that is a general spell for warding off evil and spirits and trying to prevent, you know, bad stuff happening, and maybe a bit of a good luck charm. Because I think actually that might be useful if it's a general type of sleep that you're trying to get, like the bad spirits of distraction away. Maybe that could help you.
Maybe.
All right.
Anything at this point.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. The first thing that we need to do is imagine. This is what I found really confusing when I was reading this one, though, because often for magic spells and stuff, you need to set up a salt circle or something like an actual boundary. But here you just have to imagine a circle. So if we both in our which is really useful considering we're doing this by Zoom, because I would have to try and put the salt through the camera, and that's it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So if we imagine the circle, you got a circle in your head?
I've got a circle in my head.
Great. Okay, here we go.
Sato Tenet. Oh, sorry, let's try that one again. Sato Arepo Tenet Opera Rotas. Sato Arepo Tenet Opera Rotas. Sato Arepo Tenet Opera Rotas.
Okay, and now visualize having a sleep. Keep that in your mind.
Oh, yeah.
And we're done. There you go.
Right.
So I'll post this out to you, and then just let us know how your sleep goes from now on, okay?
I will do. I'll give you daily updates, like how my watch does.
Yeah. I'd appreciate if you can do the the weekly screen time thing, but with that'd be really good.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Because I just need to know. So I need to know if they work because I'm trying to find out what sort of magic that I can do. And I feel confident about this one. I feel pretty good about it.
Good.
But you have to have it. You have to have it on your person because this is imbued. We've imbued this with the power now. Also, if you need to recharge it, you can put it out in the moonlight, like full moon, is really useful for it. So just bear that in mind. If you ever see a full moon, just pop it.
That's what I did with my crystals. So it's kind of similar.
Yes. Yeah. So if you stick them with the crystals, actually, that might super. Maybe it's like sometimes like Samsungs can do the contactless charging. Yeah. Maybe it's like that kind of thing. So what that means, so it's a palindrome, obviously. Like, so what is cool about it, I think, is that like the words go down and it's the same word across and down, and then also it's the same word backwards and whatever. I think it's
cool.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like loads of people have been like, "Hey, that's quite cool. I'm going to carve it on a wall." So
Naturally.
So what that translates to, if you're interested, what do you think it means?
I haven't got a clue.
So it is Latin for the sower or farmer, a repo. So his name is a repo or a repo, leads the plough with his hand.
Okay.
So what do you think what does that mean to you, Alice?
Is it like counting sheep?
Oh,
Sheep.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm for it.
He's leading everyone to sleep.
Yeah, he's got his plough, he's got the sheep following him behind, and then it's a repo is the Sandman. That's it. Oh no, I didn't think I was going to be summoning any spirits, but it looks like we've got old Father Time coming in here.
Yeah, and all the sheep.
All the sheep too. Yeah, that's a lot of rams to. But hey, there's Zodiac, that counts.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's your spell. I hope that's okay for you. Let me know how that goes. And also, yeah, sorry to hear that your sleep's been bad. I don't really like saying the phrase burnout because I feel like it's such a cliche and like such a article description. Do you know? But that idea of like, I feel like in the art, but also with our heads, you feel like you have to work and work and work and do more, and there's never really time to stop. And that, like you were saying, when you lie in bed, it's like that's my time. That's my time because it's time in bed, but actually that time is to rest. And that conflict's shit. I think for many people, probably one of the best ways to get to sleep is putting your phone down, not having that screen. I've heard that blue light. I've heard that's bad. Just taking a good book in your hands and getting ready to set sail on a sea of slumber. That sounds great. Maybe I'll try that. I guess I'm in a bit of a problem at the moment because I've got 3 books on the go at the moment. I normally have maybe 2 to 3 books on the boil at any one point, and I'm not saying that as a brag. It's more that I'll start one, I'll put that one down for whatever reason. I might be really enjoying it. I've only got a third of the way through, so I'm like, I'll put that down for a little bit, and then I start another one because starting something is very exciting, and then after getting about a third of the way through that one, I realise I should probably finish the book before this book, or even the book before that book, because I can still remember the characters' names and what's going on. The worst thing is when I come back to a book a third of the way through and I have to reread that third. So I'll go read the one 2 books before, and then I can read either this one, I could start this one, or maybe another new book. I've got a few on the pile that I also need to read. It's a bit of a tricky situation at the moment for me also, because whilst normally it's about a third of the way through and I gradually hammer them all down, I'm at that precipice of finishing all 3 of these books. I feel like I'm probably at the point where the mine car is just going up the hill and it could start rolling down. And it's if I start any of those 3, I just know I'm gonna have to finish any of those 3. So maybe I should start another one. I could read on my phone though, couldn't I? Yeah, let's get the blue light out. Let's see what's going on. I'd love to hear what do you do better than me? How can I do it? But also, like, how do you experience? Like, how does it feel for you, like working and feeling like you have to work all the time, if that is a thing now?
I think actually the thing that really helped was learning not to feel the need to work all the time. And I think I set out this year and I was like, this is the year of me saying no. Like, and there's a privilege within that because too many opportunities are coming in that I can't do them all. And I'm like, that's a privilege in itself, right? So I like, it's not necessarily always useful. If I'm talking to like younger generation, I would not say that because that's not helpful for them right now. You're trying to build up. So like, I'm aware of like maybe the hypocrisy of what I'm saying. But in terms of me, learning to be able to go, it's okay to have a bit of time without doing anything, or like that's going to actually make me feel worse doing this job if it's going to be about this, or like I've said I'm going away X, Y, and Z for a weekend, or just I want a weekend off, and trying actively to stick to that has really, really helped with burnout, because art kind of starts as our hobby and our side hustle, and we build up. It doesn't ever feel like work because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's the tricky thing, because then you'll be making captions at like 2 a.m. because it's fun. Like it's like I love it, but hey, it's just a job. So like, don't do that. And I think setting out my boundaries, and maybe this is the like capitalism etched within me, but like a 9 to 5, like I really try and stick to. It's a 10 to 5. And I understand that like someone's 10 to 5 might be there 6 p.m. till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Whatever that is for that person, for me, that setting that boundary for me mentally really helped. Like, so I keep my weekends.
As a comedian that performs across the circuit, I often find myself travelling late at night. And as a musical comedian based in Manchester, my trips to London will involve either a early train down and then a very late overnight coach. And one of the things that I used to really like to do at that point was I'd put an eye mask on and I'd listen to some music to help me get to sleep. And if there's one person that without a doubt I could trust for a good sleep, it was Brian Eno. He's the boy of ambient music, and his song Deep Blue Day from the album Apollo is one of my surefire go-to for listening to something to keep noise out but help me drift off to sleep. I decided to send him an email to say thank you and invite him if he wanted to share any words on the podcast about how he feels about people listening to his music sending him to sleep. And what I got back was this.
Hello. Thank you for your email. I am currently away recording the sounds of an airplane's wheels hitting tarmac to turn into a 10-hour ambient track. If your message is urgent, please email bono@uhu2.tv. Best. Brian Eno.
Okay. Well, fine. I don't think Bono's gonna have a message for this.
Because burnout was just so like, it was so prevalent. I was replying to emails straight away. Like, and I was like, well, that you're not thinking about that. Because my ADHD, I can't leave. I hate notifications. Like, I hate it because I'm like, I'd rather just reply and get everything gone. Like, I hate it. But actually, like, I've learned just to leave the emails or schedule them if I really am like, can't like let that go. But that was taking over. So I guess like the biggest thing is boundaries and saying no. Not the best at it. So like, but that's
yeah. I mean, it's easy. It's like, you know, and obviously like, I feel like that's one of the things as well with interviews, and that's one of the scary things I find about interviews is that you get asked a question and then you give your answer, and that's the answer that you think, and it's the answer you believe. Maybe you have to go to Canada every other week and back and forth, and because it's just such an exciting, amazing thing to do, and it is going to be rough for that time.
Yeah. And I think that's actually probably a good example. I've worked really hard here to really. I've had a realization in the last couple of weeks how important like community driven work is for me, and you know, like really like advocating. It's all fun and games when you say that, right? And you know, and like, and then people don't do it and whatever. But like, it's really, really, really highlighted to me. Actually, no, I'm really, really passionate about that. So like, it could be easy enough not to continue to like be kind of overworking myself a bit, but like, I love it, and I'm not gonna just stop doing that just because of one great opportunity, because I want to mesh everything together and like create as much representation and conversation as possible. And that's been I hope that makes sense, but yeah, it's I'm like, gosh, just throw everything in, but I know it would be worth it. But that's why the weekends I'm like, no.
And
maybe that's and food, like that sounds so weird, but burnout, like make sure I'm eating, you know.
You got to eat, and then it's like, and I have to make it.
Yeah.
How did you figure out what your capacity for work was? Because you've said like the weekends, and I know maybe there isn't an answer, and that is fine also. But like knowing that 10 till 5 and knowing that you want to keep weekends, when did you work? When did that happen? Is that just something you've learned, or is that like a theory? Or
I felt like that was common, so the people were doing it. And don't get me wrong, the 5 p.m. finish kind of it will fluctuate. And I say 5 p.m. finish. If I want to finish at like 2 p.m., I'm going to finish at 2 p.m. If I'm not going to work on a Wednesday, I'm not going to work on a Wednesday. I don't feel like I need to work 5 days a week. Whew. But I was just noticing that tended to be when everyone wanted the emails would come through and
Right, yeah.
that's the best time to respond. And I guess it was just a mental thing. And it felt like a nice in-between. It wasn't 9 till 6, it was 10 till 5.
Yeah.
And so then I think when I started communicating that, it just felt like the energy shifted. Like I'm a big energy person. And because I just set out for that, because that seemed to be quite common, I suddenly felt like, because I was establishing really solid boundaries and holding myself to a safer position mentally, it actually shifted a lot of the energy that I was then getting reciprocated. That might be too... I don't know what that noise is, but
no, it may
keep it out into the universe is going to come back on you. So me holding myself a bit more accountable and professional really helped.
Yeah,
so I
absolutely.
just
But that energy, I think you're right, and I think it is that vibe, isn't it? And that's why the crystals are great as well, because it's helping you think and get into a headspace. Because I don't know, it's just so hard to know what somebody else feels, isn't it? And it's not your job to figure out what somebody feels, but I guess if you have that attitude and you know in yourself what your boundary and where you're at is, that's fine.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, look, I've done a spell for you, but I think in some ways you've given me a lot of help too.
Ew. We both got something.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on, Alice. It's been great to speak to you. I don't know when we'll see each other again. Soon, hopefully.
We'll cross paths in the Prep Media City again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Ask the Lowry to help us.
Well, I'm still awake, and I certainly hope everybody here listening is too, because how could you have fallen asleep with such a great conversation from Alice Christina-Corrigan? I legitimately mean that, and I'm worried that the tone of my voice makes that sound sarcastic, and it's not the case at all. Thank you so much, Alice, for coming on the show. We had a great conversation, and please do keep an eye out for Fade, as and when that comes out, and potentially the show that she is in that she cannot talk about, and we still, at the time of recording this now, cannot mention directly. But you can find out about it by following her on social media. So you can follow her on X/Twitter, I still don't like calling it X, at Alice Corrigan, or on Instagram at Alice Corrigan. I think basically it's a safe bet for if you want to see if you can follow her on social media somewhere, go for at Alice Corrigan. And let's have a look, because it seems like I'm going to be up all night, as to whether the spell worked. I've got the voice note for Alice here. Let's give this a listen.
So I received the Sator. I received the Sator square in the post, and I can actually confirm, albeit I am now incredibly jet lagged and did have 2 hours sleep yesterday, but we'll put that aside. I can confirm that I have been sleeping like a baby, so it must have done something. I also, when I got to Canada a couple of weeks ago, did not, for the first time in 4 months, have any jet lag. I completely skipped it. That sounds witchy to me. But right now, I'm jet lagged. But we will continue just to ignore that bit, because my sleep has been great. So thank you very much. I will treasure this and frame it on my wall.
2 for 2. Whoa, this is amazing. I can't believe this has worked the second time. Is it just the fact that talking through the problems has helped both of them to identify issues that they were having and be able to emotionally address them? Or is it that I have the magic in my bones? I think it's more exciting to think the latter, and so I'm going to. But that does leave the problem of me not being able to go to sleep, because of course I didn't make myself a Sator square, which really, that would have been a much better idea than me trying to do all of the boiling a kettle, doing all the washing, trying to read a book. I mean, I did get to listen to Brian Eno though, so that's pretty good for me. Maybe I'll just read a bedtime story, a quick one here. Here we go. Once upon a time, in the Netherlands, there lived 2 young men. 2 men with a dream of making the best Eurodance and secretly a concept album band. Of making the best Eurodance group that also happened to secretly make a concept album that nobody is talking about. featuring the story of a young woman conquering all the Wait, this isn't a bedtime story. This is a perfect biography of the Dutch band the Venga Boys. Forget this. Look, guys, I don't know if I'm going to get to sleep. I think I will eventually. I think that's probably a safe bet. It's not like I'm forever doomed to never sleep. Maybe I'll give it another go. Please follow me on social media. Please do follow the show and follow me at EDYHURST on Instagram, X. It's /Edy Hurst on Facebook. And please do send in spell requests. Send a message with a spell request, especially on X or on Instagram. Because it'd be great to get listeners having their requests and see if I can help people through the magic of audio. And also, please listen to my producer, Ellen McLeod, who has produced these episodes absolutely fantastically. Please listen to her File on 4 documentary, which is on BBC Sounds now. It is called Disability and the Adult Industry. It may be a different tone to this show, but nevertheless, it's excellent. Thank you so much for listening to this, and I will see you next week. Buoyed up by the confidence of succeeding twice in my spells, I sit down and speak with 2 guests from Blink Dance Theatre, Adam and Vicky, and I try to solve 2 wildly different spells. I'll see you once I've had some sleep. Bye!